And we are ready for the next presentation in this session number 4 of the event. We have a presentation which was already announced by the previous speaker. We already saw this innovation on a slide in the previous presentation, but here we have with us Amelia Dales, Commercial Director of Garçon Wines, who is ready to introduce this beverage packaging innovation with us. Seamless wine deliveries, unlocking growth in personal gifting and digital print for wine packaging. Very excited with the title alone. The floor is entirely yours, Amelia.
Thank you so much, Jan. That's really great. And hello to everyone, and thank you for joining my presentation today where, yeah, as Jan rightly says, I will share a little bit more about what we do at Garçon Wines and how seamless wine deliveries can unlock growth in personalised and digital print for wine. So I'm Amelia Dales, Commercial Director at Garçon Wines. Now, starting here when thinking about wine, actually a funny maybe place to start, but we might think when we think of wine of verdant vineyards or good times with good food and good friends, good family, but it's unlikely that the first thing that you'll think to for some is the dreaded supermarket wine aisle, a space that feels like it's specifically designed to confuse and bamboozle with various offers, tickets and signage, as you can see here, galore. Here in the UK, we drink approximately 1.7 billion bottles of wine per year. And when considering the off-trade, it's the supermarket that has traditionally been the first port of call for picking up a bottle or two. But what is it that makes us pick up a certain wine? Is it price, the label, a recommendation? And one study here is showing that 1 in 3 shoppers buys wine because they like the shape of the bottle. And that's actually a really good place to start for my presentation today, which is a brief history of wine bottles we'll start with. The invention of mass market produced wine bottles is credited to 17th century British, believe it or not, diplomat, so Kenelm Digby. And Digby's creation is what you see on screen now, the onion bottle, a bulbous bottle with a long neck, very round bottom to it. Prior to this, wine had been stored in larger casks, but this smaller glass bottle allowed smaller volumes of wine ultimately to be stored or carried than what was typical at the time. And from Digby's 17th century creation, and as glassblowing became more commonplace, bottles started to take various different shapes and sizes throughout the 18th century, some of which you might start to recognise as bottles as they're still being used today in just various different shapes. But alongside that, in the 18th century, label printing was actually invented in Germany. Lithography was born. This is something that I very much enjoyed looking at for this presentation. This is the printing from a stone or a metal plate with a smooth surface. And thinking back to wine a little bit, just after the 19th century, the French actually started to create 2 iconic bottle shapes, which are still, say, in use today. In case you're wondering, these bottle shapes actually are connected with the wine grape varieties from these particular regions have become quite iconic, I guess, with these particular grape varieties. But around this same period, individual winemakers were also starting to gather fame throughout Europe and around the world. And in addition to these key wine bottle shapes, the first paper labels allowed winemakers to put their mark on the bottles and the creations and the wines that they were creating, helping to allow customers to recognize or identify certain bottles. And back to the infamous wine aisle, and right across the world, this is still what dominates today. So the round glass bottle with this particular label is still the status quo. And of the 2 most popular shapes that we spoke about coming from France, the Bordeaux bottle is actually the most commonly used. And as shown here on the map, the reason for this actually is because the grape varieties from the Bordeaux region are typically hardier and so planted in many more places across the world. And this is why this bottle shape is most widely used. But in the 19th century bottle fit for purpose in the world that we live in today, a 21st century world. And a world that is seeing a rise in digitalization, so continued growth in e-commerce and the Amazon generation, as our shopping habits and delivery expectations have changed dramatically since the 19th century, even just in the last few years, they've changed dramatically. And online grocery is becoming a new norm. So online grocery in the UK accounted for 13.5% of sales in August 2020. And what we're also seeing is this is moving into wine as well. So figures from the end of July, this is on screen, end of July 2020, saw a 25% increase in wine searches year on year in the UK, with online wine sales likely to be a lasting legacy of COVID-19. COVID-19, it's fortunate that it's likely to come to a lot of conversation today because it's an unprecedented time that we're experiencing at the moment. And COVID-19 pandemic has really disrupted the status quo for many businesses and many industries, accelerating online trends and creating new customer concerns, needs, behaviors, buying patterns. But COVID-19 is not the only unprecedented global threat and challenge that we're facing. We're also currently facing a climate emergency. And thankfully fueled by the fantastic work of people like Greta Thunberg, climate crisis awareness and action is increasing, and particularly amongst the younger generation who are wanting to protect the world that they'll inherit. And this is a really interesting post that I found actually on Greta's Instagram only this week, after she'd spent some time being the editor-in-chief at Sweden's largest newspaper. And this is showing just how much was global emissions of CO2 up until 2018. And how much we've got to kind of reduce. So the yellow part of this graph here is showing that 2027 is the year that if we continue at the current use of carbon emissions to continue as they are, we will have gone past our budget by 2027. The red line showing on screen that with a linear reduction, we'll need to reach net zero by 2036. And scarily highlighted here, showing Sweden, Europe, and China, the targets are way out. And this is of vital importance, not just for the planet as a whole, but particularly for the world of wine, because global warming is causing a real threat and damage to the wine industry and actually reshaping the world of wine. Increased temperatures, so drier summers due to lack of water and drought, having a really huge impact, a devastating impact, in fact. California this year has been gripped by never before seen wildfires, which at one point were growing at the speed of 1 acre every 5 seconds. Tearing through wine country, destroying vineyards, but as well, people's homes and livelihoods. So what's the problem? The importance of highlighting this problem and the importance that it has for the wine industry is that glass wine bottles in 19th century creation are wrong functionally. Glass is a poor material as it's heavy, it's spatially inefficient from the shape, and also shatters easily. And this is, more true so than ever in e-commerce. So the status quo wine bottle is just simply not cut out for e-commerce. Highlighted here by a rather frustrated Amazon customer. It says the expectation around delivery and service increases. But also they're terrible environmentally. So glass bottles actually are not helping the wine industry in their fight against climate change. Study here taken from California Sustainable Wine Growing Alliance is showing that transport and packaging and the actual bottle itself are together combined more than 50%, so over half of the carbon emissions of wine's carbon footprint. And if you look, the stats on there, 29% shows that glass bottles are the single largest contributor to the carbon footprint of wine. So innovation and change is needed. There's been very little innovation actually in primary packaging for wine in the last 2 centuries. Just to highlight quickly here, 1964, Australian invention. So Peter Wall from Yalumba, a French company, commissioned to produce the screw cap. So moving from cork to screw cap, and screw cap now actually by 2021 is expected to account for 90% of the market for the wine industry. Another advancement in packaging a year later came in 1965 by another Australian inventor, so Thomas Angove, realizing that round glass bottles had their limitations, and so he invented the bag-in-box, which is seeing a real growth and rise actually at the moment in wine this year. And when looking at the evolution and history of wine bottles, I also obviously looked at labels. It made sense to do that for today. And I found this really great example from Chateau Mouton Rothschild. And this famous French company came up with the idea of having each year's label designed by a famous artist in the day. So after the success of this, it became a permanent fixture and something that they continued with year on year. Examples here actually of some pretty famous ones, which I thought were quite cool. And this is one from Picasso and from Andy Warhol. And then also even a label design from His Royal Highness Prince of Wales. So this is one here that included a painting from him. But what's more important, or what's the most important thing in a 21st century world? Wine labels are still used to catch consumers' attention and highlight key brand messaging. So some examples on screen here, a brand that is I Hate Wine, I guess designed to kind of capture those that are maybe not the biggest fans of wine. But then also a NICE label that's on screen on the right-hand side, a 2020 project and campaign by NICE supporting NHS frontline workers. But importantly as well, the importance of labels for lifestyle choices. So highlighting key kind of elements such as being alcohol-free or organic wine or vegan. But this feels a little bit more 21st century to me. So augmented reality labels, an example here from Australian wine brand 19 Crimes and their living labels. So labels that tell the stories of infamous convicts as part of the brand's identity. Feels very 21st century, but again, still using 19th century bottle. So it's time for the wine industry to have a 21st century upgrade, one that supports the wine industry in the 21st century and that keeps up with the continuing software advancements. Garçon wines are the inventors and creators of eco-flat wine bottles, bottles modeled on traditional shapes, but made from 100% recycled PET. So we retain the beauty and emotional connection of wine bottles by taking a smart cross-section design of the Bordeaux bottle, respecting the heritage and tradition of wine. But by going flat, we save 40%. So flat to save space, meaning that the bottle is packed like books, so an increased surface area contact, importantly still keeping the same 750 ml volume. And best-in-class material is ultimately extremely important. So we use 100% recycled PET. It's a pre-existing material, not single-use plastic, which means we also eliminate the risk of breakages or damages that you would normally associate from smashed glass. And as well as being made from 100% recycled PET, our bottles are 100% recyclable afterwards, as PET is one of the most widely recycled plastics. We have a specially selected cap to also ensure recyclability and label, and that's to avoid mixed material contamination, which can have an impact in recycling streams. And label is an important one to look at here for us. The label actually is really important to us for communicating key messaging about our product and about the eco benefits. And 88% of consumers want brands to help them be more environmentally friendly and ethical in their daily lives. And that expands also to our secondary packaging. So just an example here of our letterbox wine package, which we'll come on to in a little bit in a short while. But yeah, again, explaining why we've used recycled material and what to do with the bottle actually once it's been drunk. And this isn't just something that we're doing as a startup and a young company. Big companies know how important this is, and ensuring that messaging is present, helping consumers to make the right choices, and ultimately ensuring that products are recycled after use. So the switch to recycled PET means that our bottles are 87% lighter than the round glass alternative. And combined, the space and weight savings through shape innovation and best-in-class material means lower CO2 emissions throughout production and supply chain, helping to address the key hotspots that are seen and shown in the wine industry with regards to carbon footprint. And in order to make a success of wine in e-com, these are the three key elements that we address. So shape innovation, best-in-class material, and products that are designed for recycling. So Letterbox Wine, this is how we started our sustainable wine packaging journey. We're best known in the UK for our Letterbox Wine solution. And this comes from an idea that was our CEO and co-founder Santiago looking to solve an issue with single bottle deliveries of wine. So we just created prototypes in 2016. This is a post here, and planning to be a B2C wine club and subscription business. We wanted to take our innovation to the UK market to allow seamless delivery of single bottles of wine straight into consumers' homes through the letterbox. So no waiting or hanging around for delivery, just a bottle of wine waiting on your doormat when you got home. And whilst this is ultimately a fun and novel way to receive or gift wine, it actually addresses three really important pillars of sustainability, which is planet, profit, and people. So ensuring successful first-time delivery keeps costs down, but also lowers greenhouse gas emissions, and ultimately people are not having to hang around and wait for their delivery of wine. So through this innovation and trying to solve an issue around single bottle delivery of wine for e-commerce, we actually found that there were a multitude of benefits and applications that were better suited, that our bottle was better suited for. So we pivoted and became a B2B wine packaging solutions company, and that's led to various different product launches and collaborations over the last few years. Just showing a few on screen here for context. Most recently, I guess one that was pretty exciting and pivotal in our company's journey was our bottles being available for the first time in the UK supermarket through Accolade Wine's brand Banrock Station. These are on shelf and available to purchase from Cobb stores today. It feels like a little bit of a plug, but just on shelf today. But coming back to letterbox wine, wine is typically lagged compared to other grocery products, and when it comes to online sales, and this is where we're starting to see a shift in consumer behavior. As a B2B company, we're able to supply our bottles to other companies looking to make the most of selling wine online. And digital print helps us achieve this through offering labels and products that best suit both our customers and their customers as well as the consumers. So we launched our first product with letterbox flower pioneers Bloom and Wild in April 2017. We now create actually a specific label for Palustra, for Bloom and Wild, called Palustra. It's unique to them and fits in really well with their branding and general company feel. Bloom and Wild, a note from them saying that our product is truly revolutionizing the wine industry, offering consumers something that hasn't been seen before: delicious wine delivered through the letterbox in an environmentally friendly way. We create a core collection of labels and brands that are more traditional for those that are simply looking for a more efficient and eco-friendly way to gift wine. Some examples of these on screen. But also, again, digital print allows us to supply labels that are suited for key gifting peaks and occasions such as birthdays and Christmas, gifting our business customers, giving our business customers the opportunity to offer a tailored solution for these types of events. Print also allows us to get creative for unique events and occasions. So this is a really great image from festival last year. We were the wine provider for Bristol Pride, and as it was a one-off event, we were able to create bespoke labels and also additional collarettes or bottle hangs. That's the part that's hanging around the bottle neck, to really make the customer and festival punters feel like there was an additional level of excitement and celebration. We have a variety of customers that we're able to do that for, so putting forward a bespoke solution. Here are two great examples. So there was a school that wanted to gift key stakeholders at Christmas with a branded bottle of wine. Another example, events company Big Red Bus Bar, who love to take advantage of their unique and quirky restored London bus bar. But customization can be further built upon when adding elements of personalization. So for example, Funky Pigeon have a whole host of various different labels, from happy birthday to I'm sorry, and this ensures that their customers have the options to pick a wine that is perfect for the recipient, but also really adds that extra special touch. You can even add a picture if you really wanted to put your face onto a wine bottle. Personalization can also be extended to the other gifts and combination gifts and onto the secondary packaging. So here, an example of a collaboration that we did with organic chocolate brand Green and Blacks. This is to create an indulgent wine and chocolate gift that has an extra special touch, where people can, add messages, not just to the wine bottle, but also to the outer packaging and onto the chocolates too. Imagination Store, they're the company that are responsible for doing the printing. The partnership with Mondelez for personalization across much loved brands has created the perfect opportunity to collaborate with Garçon Wines, multi-award winning innovator in e-commerce wine delivery. And digital print will continue to be an important part of our journey for our business customers and also for us as well. So we've just recently launched our own website as a one-stop shop for a variety of existing and new and exclusive brands that are available in flat. Just for today, we've also given the okay. This is straight from our marketing manager. Digital print for packaging exclusive. As exclusive access to our newly launched website. You can see the web address there and the password to enter the site's Friends of Garçon Wines. And also, it's really great to see that consumers love the design and sustainability of our bottle. And that ultimately is the most important piece. So we really need consumers to have those extra special moments from the gifts that they receive. But also importantly recognised by industry experts as being game-changing in what we do, which is really great for those that have a strong voice in the industry. And also received many awards and accolades for our packaging, which has been fantastic. We do what we feel is right, but it's always great to receive awards to show that others are I guess, presenting us with an accolade along our journey. Leading influencers, again, sing our praises. This was a really great one from David Lussenberger, Global Packaging Director at Mintel. So it's one of the best e-commerce packages that he's seen to date. And finally, a letter from Sir David Attenborough, again, which we are really so proud to have received. And this was sent to our CEO, Santiago, following a bottle of wine being gifted to thank for all the great work that he's been doing in raising awareness for protecting the planet that we live on. This letter saying that he wishes us every success. So finally, just to come to a final, I guess, overview of what it is that we're looking to do with our wine packaging that's suitable for a 21st century, putting forward and helping wine to be successful in e-commerce through support of print and digital print and personalization. And for us, true sustainability is triple bottom line. So that is a wealthier industry, happier society, and healthier planet. Hopefully I've managed to keep to time. Thank you so much for listening. And I think that we may have some questions if we've got time.
Yeah, thank you so much, Amelia. You've been racing through the presentation, I must say, but it is indeed a very exciting story. I can feel the passion here. We do have a couple of questions. Your story did generate some interest, and let me summarize a couple of questions here in one single one, in a sense that we're looking at PET bottles based on recycled materials, but if you would compare the old traditional glass Bordeaux bottles, also they are being recycled, cleaned, and refilled. Did you do a full environmental sustainability comparison between the two, and where would be the big drivers for this solution to be more environmental sustainability than the traditional bottles?
Yeah, it's a really great question, and I'm pleased that people are kind of thinking in that way. Where I guess we're not the first to do wine in PET. We are one of the first companies to offer a bottle that's made from 100% recycled PET. But what is really fantastic, if we look, for example, to the Nordics as a great example, and our bottles are available in Nordic monopolies at the moment, so Sweden, Norway, and Finland. There's a lot of research that has gone into the carbon footprint of wine packaging, and that was already there in place prior to us, I guess, coming to the party. And so, yeah, there's a lot of information out there and life cycle analysis that show the impact of various different types of packaging. And most importantly, the lower carbon footprint is through not just the production of the recycled material compared to glass, for example, so the energy and the emissions that are involved in the actual production of the material and the recycling of the material, but most importantly, space saving as well. So that for us is a key benefit that's quite unique to our bottles. So not only is it best in class material, but combine that with shape innovation. As I say, our bottles do pack like books. So in some instances, we can fit up to 91% more wine on a pallet, which then has a really positive impact throughout the supply chain and reducing not just logistics costs, but also emissions throughout the supply chain.
Right, and just for the heck of it, the volume of the bottle is the same as the volume of a traditional Bordeaux wine.
Absolutely, right? Yeah. I think we'd be people would be very upset with us if we'd reduce the volume of wine.
Well, so, they would need to buy more bottles then. In that case.
No, it's still 750 ml bottle. Absolutely.
Excellent. We ran out of time, but I do believe this was a very, very interesting presentation, Amelia. Thank you for your contribution. We move on to the next speaker. Thank you so much, Amelia.
Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon.
Bye.